Monday, November 2nd. Welcome to a new episode of Bazaar. I'm Nandini and joining me is Sid. It's been a while, isn't it, Sid?
Yep, guilty as charged. Been really busy with the work in the past few weeks and I could not squeeze out an episode. I'm really sorry to all the listeners out there, but we're back. We're back with a bang and we have a few episodes in the pipeline. So in the next few weeks, we will keep you occupied.
Yes, it's good to be back. And in this episode, we will be covering what is probably one of the largest restaurant deals of the decade. Inspire Brands wants to buy Dunkin' and is willing to pay quite a premium for it. What do you make of this deal?
True. The premium is actually 20%. Inspire is coming out and it is willing to pay a 20% premium for the brand, for the company to, just get into the deal. Inspire is paying close to $8.8 billion. And they are also taking over the company's debt, which actually makes this a $11.3 billion deal. So it's a massive deal. You don't normally see such big deals happening in the restaurant industry, especially during these precarious times when, the hospitality and the restaurant business has been hit really hard. And so it's a good deal for the industry as a whole because, this develops that level of excitement back in the industry. And this tells you that, it's ready to bounce back. So I'm really happy that, something is happening. And Dunkin' is one of those brands that was pretty stable. Even during COVID, when everyone was at home, they were performing very well. They had invested very well in their omni-channel presence. And a lot of people were buying through their drive-through outlets. So it was not hit that bad. And, I remember when I was a kid, I remember Dunkin' was only known for its donuts. And not that donuts were not good, they were fantastic. But, there's only so much you can grow with limited offerings on your menu.
I do remember going to Dunkin' Donuts exclusively for its donuts. Okay, so to grow, Dunkin' shed donuts from its name, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Dunkin' Donuts was a good name. There's no denying that. But, Dunkin' shed the name because it wanted to enter different verticals. So it didn't want to be limited to donuts and bagels, but it wanted to, have a name which opened its gates to new verticals. And it has made its name in the coffee selling business. Starbucks is not phased with the competition, but from what I hear, Dunkin' sells some damn good coffee. And I've not personally tried coffee from a Dunkin' outlet, but from all the reviews that I'm hearing, Starbucks surely needs to, put up its seatbelt because Dunkin' is crawling slowly behind it. And it's been one of its fastest growing businesses. I mean, coffee, people love coffee, right? Who doesn't love coffee? So coffee has been one of its fastest growing businesses. And Dunkin' also makes money by selling ice creams through its brand Baskin Robbins. Again, I've never tried a Baskin Robbins in my life. But anyone who's working at Dunkin' probably hates me right now because I've not tried any of their products. I've not tried Baskin Robbins, so I cannot say how good the ice cream is. But again, that business is also doing pretty good.
Well, for us Mumbaikars, we prefer naturals, don't we? Well, I have tried Baskin Robbins a few times and it's decent though. But my favorite ice cream has to be Swenson's. I remember seeing Swenson's at Delhi airport, but that's about it.
Yeah, I remember when we used to live in Bangkok. I cannot forget Swenson's. It was one of the best ice creams that I've ever had in my life. And I really wish that it was big in India because you've seen it in Delhi airport. I've not even seen it there. So it has been, just invisible to me in India, and Swenson should probably start a franchisee in India. But anyways, coming back to the question, why is Inspire paying a premium for Dunkin'? That's the big question here. And, the reason is because it gives Inspire access to 12,500 Dunkin' stores and about 8,000 Baskin Robbins outlets worldwide. Not only in US, but these stores, this brand has been far-fetched. It's not only limited to the US. So Inspire gets a hand into these stores. It gets a piece of that pie, and that's worth a lot. I understand that they're paying a 20% premium, but that makes sense because they want to grab that piece of the market share, not only in the US, but Dunkin' has come out and said in the previous meetings as well that they are looking to expand beyond US. That's what I think caught Inspire's attention as well. So that's why I feel that Inspire is willing to pay a 20% premium for Dunkin'. And Inspire also has its own brands like Arby's, Buffalo Wild Wings, Jimmy John's, and I have personally never heard of these brands before I researched for the show. But I think they're doing pretty good in the US. I mean, looking at their sales numbers and their the same store sales and everything, I think these stores are doing good, and Dunkin' could be a great addition to this portfolio of restaurants that Inspire already has. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
So I have heard about Arby's though, and I've heard that they're doing really, really good. Like, people in the US, they live on fast food and they really like it. And all this sounds like a great addition for Inspire, although a 20% premium does look like a lot, especially during these times.
Yeah, so again, back to that question, I did a little bit of digging, and here's what I found. Inspire, it's owned by a private equity firm which is called Rora Capital. And like any typical private equity firm, they normally buy troubled brands at a cheaper price, and then they turn around their businesses. Okay, so that's what Inspire does on a consistent basis. And they're not really used to paying premium. They buy brands at a very cheap price and then they turn it around, and whatever's the difference, that's how they make profit. So I think the management at Inspire feel that Dunkin' could be a great addition to the profile. Like I mentioned, 12,500 outlets of the Dunkin' brand, and again 8,000 outlets of Baskin Robbins. It's a great addition. That's why they made this move. Also, listening to Market Foolery, one of my favorite business podcasts, the analysts on that show, they did a specific episode on this deal, and they feel that Inspire could very well list Dunkin' again in a few years. So probably Inspire could be thinking that 3 or 4 years, let's just streamline this business. Let's just, bring it to a very optimum level, and then we can list it again and we can make money off that. So these are 2 or 3 things that I could think of, the reason why Inspire paid a 20% premium, even though we are in COVID, money is short, liquidity is not that great. Yeah, that could be one of the reasons.
All this sounds really nice, but I'm curious. What happens to Dunkin' brand in India after this deal?
The simple answer is nothing. So a lot of people might not know this, but Jubilant FoodWorks, which is the franchisee for the Dunkin' brand in India, it does not own the Dunkin' brand. And it's also a franchisee of Domino's that we all love. Pizza is the best thing out there. But it does not own any of the brands. Jubilant just, it simply pays a franchisee fee to avail the brand value. And so on the Indian front, for that matter, on the global front, not much changes from this deal for the franchisees. Only the ownership changes. So currently the company is owned by Dunkin' Brands Group, and this ownership will be transferred to Inspire brand. So in simple words, again, from an Indian perspective, Jubilant FoodWorks will continue to pay the franchisee fees, but instead of Dunkin' brands, this money will now go to Inspire. So, if you're going to Dunkin', if you're wondering, what's going to happen in India, nothing's going to happen. That store is going to be open. You can just take a sip of your coffee the same way. This is just a change of ownership. That's it.
It's curious you talk about the franchise business. Like, how does it work? How is it good for the company and for the franchisee?
Yeah, so a franchisee model works in a very simple way. Let me give you an example. Let's say tomorrow I want to start a restaurant, okay? I want to create my own brand, but nobody knows me. Who is Siddharth, right? He's just one person on this planet. He has no brand value. So I go to Dunkin' and I say, let me use your brand value. I will set up my own restaurant. I will invest my own money. I'll buy my own properties. And I will take all the risks. Let me use your brand because I don't have a brand right now. No one recognizes me. So, and that's not all. I mean, I will take all the risks. And apart from that, I will pay you a certain percentage of revenue as a fee for using your brand. I mean, sounds good for Dunkin', isn't it? So Dunkin' then checks my operations, they check how I do business, and if I'm worthy, then they let me do my business using their brand. And obviously, I have to follow certain rules. I can only sell what's there on the Dunkin' brand menu, and I have to create food items in a very specified way. So I have to follow those protocols that are set by the Dunkin' management. But I think for a person who's just starting out, the franchisee model could work out very well, because you don't have a brand of your own and you have the money to spend. The franchisee model works good, because if you even see McDonald's, people buy those franchisees and they make good money out of it. So that's how it works, the franchisee model.
And how does Dunkin' benefit from all this?
Yeah, good question. So we've covered the franchisee part of the equation. Now let's come to the franchisor, which is Dunkin'. So like I mentioned, this is great money for Dunkin'. It's a cash cow. And because you see, Dunkin' doesn't have to spend anything. It does not have to invest any money on building a store. All that risk that the franchisee is taking, even if a particular store does not work, they only lose the franchisee fee. So, that makes a lot of sense for Dunkin', because they don't have to make upfront investment like in case of a traditional restaurant. You have to spend a lot of money. For example, Starbucks, to expand, it has to build those stores out and it has to spend additional money to expand. So that's how Dunkin' expands. That's how Dunkin' benefits from a franchisee model. And interestingly, to make this more understandable, if you've watched the movie The Founder, which talks about the rise of Ray Kroc and McDonald's, and how actually it's interesting, Ray Kroc actually bested the McDonald's brothers, you'll know that McDonald's is also a real estate company. Okay, so if you're a franchisee, obviously you need to buy land, you need to buy property to set up your shop, to set up your restaurant. In case of McDonald's, you have to mandatorily buy it from McDonald's. Okay, which means you also are going to be paying rent to McDonald's. So, Dunkin' also operates on a similar wavelength. I'm not sure whether it is mandatory for franchisees to lease properties from Dunkin', but which is the case for McDonald's, but this pretty much sums it up. So monthly rental income and monthly/annual franchisee fee, that's a business model that works. And Dunkin' has been making a lot of money, that's how it works. I mean, it benefits for the franchisor in this case.
Well, we'll be keeping tabs on more deals in the coming months. Quick question for the listeners. What's your favorite ice cream company? And let us know on our Instagram page or on our Facebook page. You can also reach out to us at thebazaarpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and again, as always, people on the show may have certain recommendations to buy or sell, but don't buy or sell based on what you hear. Do your own research before you make any investing decision. It's very important that you do your own research before you take any decision. It doesn't matter what I say, what anyone says. Do your own research. Have a cracking weekend, folks. We will see you next week.